Let us please stand so we can begin our meeting with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everyone for attending. Obviously, Mayor Alt will not be present this afternoon, so let us start with a motion for the minutes of September the 7th. So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. All those in favor, usual sign is aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Let us move forward now and approve the authorization of funds. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And there is a second. All in favor, usual sign of ayes.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Motion is carried. On the first agenda of the business, we have a single fire company recognition of the Elkton Police Department. Are you ready to move forward?
Yes, okay. They were on their way behind me.
Bears here.
Are they coming? I'll be right
They're
back.
on a suicidal.
So there's three?
The officers that are going to be
The squad?
recognized are actually working today and on a call, so I think
Scared?
sounded like they were on their way, yeah.
Scared? Scared.
Rather than the wait, and we certainly can move forward with that.
Thank you.
On the agenda, we have a petition for annexation with Mr. Louis Ramono, and it's my understanding, I hope the board understands too, that has been withdrawn. As we move on to another petition for annexation, which we hope will be presented for approval. Michelle, I'm going to ask if you would read that into the minutes.
There's a petition received from Birch Creek Properties LLC, and representatives of Birch Creek are online today to answer any questions. The petition was received on September 9th, 2022, and it's presented for the board's approval. I've asked them to speak up. We have Estes Express, Mr. Gary Bolus, and Ms. Angela Maidement, and I'm asking them to unmute their computers now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Maidment?
Sorry, I can't hear you all on my screen.
Can you hear us now, ma'am?
I can't hear you.
I'm also asking the other representatives to unmute themselves as well. In the meantime, while they are figuring out their own technology, this is presented from Birch Creek Properties. They're the owners of property located in the 3rd Election District, Cecil County, Maryland, and identified on Cecil County Tax Map 33C, parcel 0669, consisting of approximately 37.726 unimproved acres and further described in Cecil County Land Records in LIBOR 4887, folio 0199. And what you have before you, they sent in this morning the plan in front of you, and it shows where the property is actually located, which is on the west side of Chesapeake Boulevard. It's adjacent to the existing Estes truck terminal. And they are asking for approximately 315 gallons of water per day. They're not asking for extension of facilities into the parcel. I will also tell you that once this, if it is approved for introduction, Gene Dinner will move the process forward towards the county. Currently, the property is zoned RM in the county, which is high-density residential. Estes is going to ask for a business industrial rezoning, and that's going to require the county's approval to do that prior to the annexation being approved by the town. If the county does not approve that rezoning, then the property could still be annexed into the town, but they have to maintain that high-density residential zoning for 5 years. So really, that's pretty much what this annexation is going to hinge on, whether or not the county approves of that rezoning request from Essence. I'm still trying to see if they're joining. Also, let's see, I think I have the vice president here online, A.B. Hoffer. This is the vice president of Birch Creek Properties. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
There he is, so then he can forward from here. Sir, can you provide go ahead.
Angela Maidman, I'm on here for Essex Express Lines. I'm happy to do it with a dial, and I couldn't get it to work on the computer, so.
Okay, good, so we're ready to go. Could either of you hear the presentation I just gave to the board regarding your request?
I'm sorry, I could not.
Then would you just provide an overview of your request, please?
Absolutely. So on behalf of Essex Express Lines, the buyer of the property currently owned by Birch Creek Properties, we are under contract to purchase the acres that adjoins our property at 201 Chesapeake Boulevard. We are requesting an annexation from Cecil County into the city of Elkton, where our current facility is and has been for the last 20 years. The acreage that we are trying to rezone is to expand our current truck terminal with a shop, maintenance facility, and additional parking. And I'm open to any questions relative to the presentation today.
Would this be to hold tractor trailers?
It will hold tractors, trailers, and various equipment that support the truck terminal, as well as the shop maintenance facility where those repairs and maintenance are done to that equipment.
Can you tell us approximately how many tractor trailers this lot would hold?
Well, I think a lot of it will end up depending on just how much is taken up at the fourth station, but we have a projection that it would hold 843 spaces.
Thank you.
Having just seen a
I
map,
just remember that in our world, there are different types of trailers. The vans that we call, they're 53-footers, but we have a lot of pups as well. So when I say 843, a lot of times that's 2 pieces of equipment to one traditional space, as well as our tractors, trade trucks, vans, what are called dollies that hook the 2 pups together. All of those kinds of scenarios are combined into that overall parking area.
having just seen a map, will there be any issues you see going forward with the location? Because I see that you are surrounded by, I guess, Chesapeake Boulevard, Maloney Road, and there's other couple of roads nearby you. Do you see any issues going forward?
So we have worked with Cecil County in any kind of impact that we have in their area. What we are doing is we are excluding the access that remains with this property out to Maloney Road. We will not use it. Therefore, we will add no traffic onto that area. We will just continue to occupy, use all of our ingress and egresses on Chesapeake Boulevard as we have during our tenure at the existing property.
And what was
And we also have natural forestry buffers and everything in this entire area. So we really feel like the impact to the surrounding area is quite minimal, and it's in keeping with the industrial nature of what we have at the current site that resides on Chesapeake Boulevard.
And what was said earlier, Michelle, about water and sewer?
According to their request, they're asking for about 315 gallons of water per day. Since it wouldn't be developed with homes, they wouldn't be asking for a large amount of water or sewer. Correct.
Yeah, our water is small because the building itself is only a 5-bay shop, and it will The water will support the bathroom for our employees that will work in that area. Therefore, it's not a manufacturing, it's not large like our crossdock truck terminal that's on Chesapeake Boulevard, so our water impact is pretty small.
We'll have that water sewer connection from where it is now in their property.
Angela, did you hear Commissioner Brumel's question?
I'm sorry, I did not.
No, you're going to have water and sewer connection from where it currently exists on your property. Is that?
I didn't hear the first part of what you said either, I'm sorry. I just
Maybe
thought
she
you
could hear you
repeat that.
better.
Commissioner Brumel was asking, will the water and sewer service to this parcel, even though you say it's going to be minimal, will that be connected into the existing water and sewer service at the existing Estes terminal now?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you say you're not going to use Maloney Road at all,
Correct.
but everything will be directed over toward Chesapeake Boulevard?
And the reason being, for truck terminal security, you do not want multiple methods of ingress and egress.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to keep it in the industrial area and on the property that we already occupy. That will keep things secure and safe and managed, because the equipment will be going back and forth between the truck terminal on Chesapeake Boulevard and the shops we would build on this adjoining site.
Mm-hmm.
So it only makes sense for that ingress and egress to remain with the truck terminal site. It helps us monitor it, and the fueling and everything else in those areas, they go in between. There would be no reason for them to enter off of Maloney and come from a different direction when they can't be monitored, checked in, et cetera, through the truck terminal itself.
I see. I have the map in front of me, and I do not see an access road over to Chesapeake Boulevard. Are you planning on connecting with Conica Drive?
No. The key is we are going to have access onto our existing property that would still use our existing ingress and egress off Chesapeake Boulevard. So if you look at the plat, you will see two, almost bridges are the way to look at it. There are two roadways between the two sites that we will enter and exit from our existing site onto that. So the natural flow of traffic would still be going around the truck terminal, over to the shop and parking and back through, and then getting out to the main thoroughfares through Chesapeake Boulevard. So there is no new road or anything that would be needed to do that. It's just combining the two parcels with access in those two areas.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to allocate for some wetlands and drainage and some other topography kind of scenarios as it adjoins our property.
Okay, I see it. All right, thank you.
Additional questions from any member of the board? Is there a motion to?
Sorry, I didn't.
I'm sorry, ma'am, we are questioning the board if they have additional questions, and certainly
Okay, thank you.
they do not have any, and at this time, I'm going to seek a motion, if there is one, for approval for introduction purposes only.
I make approve it for introduction.
I'll second.
There's a second, so all in favor, the usual sign of aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion is carried at this point. Thank you, ma'am, for all your efforts to get this done, at least at this point.
Thank you for your help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready? No.
They have just cleared and they're on their way
No
out.
problem.
Okay. Proclamation.
Yeah, I know. So as we move forward under the town administrator's report, Louis George is absent, so in his field will be his assistant, and we're going to look at the proclamation P33 2022, which is Elkton High School Alumni Night, which is October the 7th, 2022. And Michelle, if you will, please read it for our hearing.
This is a proclamation from the mayor and commissioners of the town of Elkton to Elkton High School alumni. Whereas Elkton High School graduated its first class in 1959, And whereas Elkton High School has grown from a small school of 25 classrooms to a multi-specialty learning center that educates our young men and women today while preparing them for tomorrow. And whereas for over 60 years, thousands of young people have passed through the doors on the path to adulthood. And whereas EHS alumni routinely reunite to connect with those who share a very special time in their lives. Now therefore, on behalf of the Mayor, Commissioners, and the citizens of Elkton, we hereby extend a sincere welcome home by providing an annual day of reunion for all EHS alumni. And furthermore, under the authority vested in the Mayor of the Town of Elkton, he declares the first Friday of October of every year as Elkton High School Alumni Day.
So with that all being said, can I have an approval for the proclamation to go forth?
Also move.
So second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor? Aye. Ayes have it, motion carried. Along with that, we have the Elkton Alliance and the request for waiver of alcohol prohibition at Elkton High School Alumni Night, same date, October the 7th.
Yes, sir. This is a request to the board to grant a waiver of the town's alcohol beverage restriction. As you said, Commissioner Gibbons, this is for Elkton High School Alumni Night, and this will occur October 7th, 2022, from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., and this is typically North Street from 117, 118 North Street to Main, and then Main Street from 107, 109, our parking lot, to 107 East Main Street on both sides of the street.
Yes, and I'm glad you presented that tad bit of information at the end, because we approved this last year and we did confine them to a North Street area, and certainly it's good to hear again. Is there a motion for this approval to come forth?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye has it. Motion is carried. We have a letter called the Davenport Public Finance Engagement Letter. It is a letter that is going to go along with the approval as we try to get approval of the bond issue, which we have discussed many, many times. The mayor is familiar with it, and we will need his approval on that letter for it to go forth. And since we are aware of it, and if you're so inclined, then we need to make a motion for it to go forth as promised.
I make motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All right, properly moved and second. All those in favor, use the sign of aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Police Department, are you ready? If not, we can keep rolling.
No, we're ready.
You are ready?
Yes.
Okay.
You sure you're ready?
We got
Guys,
hard over
guys,
before they come
guys
around
are
the
here, they're
corner.
not exhausted. because
We got
they're
most of them
too
here.
exhausted to come forward. It's your showtime, Dan.
All right, guys. Robbie? Jeremy?
I wasn't there.
I know, so what? You're on the squad.
Yeah, fill in for Ken.
You're the squad leader.
Wait for me, I'm not ready.
All right, so my name is Robert Muller. I'm the first vice president of Singleton Fire Company. I have with me Roger Bowman, who is our assistant chief for EMS. We've asked to be on the agenda today to recognize some officers that provide support to our members. One of the things that we cherish as a volunteer fire company here in the community of Elkton is our relationship with all public safety officers and the other organizations that we work with on a daily basis. This incident that they responded to highlights that relationship, the matter of respect, and that partnership of being there to support each other when they're in need. So the incident in question, there was an immediate life threat that presented to an EMS crew with an armed individual. Due to taxed resources within the county, the officers of the squad and their supervisor offered assistance and responded and got there in a very reasonable amount of time to help de-escalate a situation and ensure the safety of our crew. So, on behalf of the members and officers of the fire company, the career staff, employees, and volunteers that were there at the scene, we have the following certificates of appreciation for each of you that read, in recognition of outstanding dedication and commitment to the Elkton community and the Singley Fire Company, whose prompt response supported an EMS crew reporting an imminent life safety event outside of town limits, provided for a positive outcome for both the crew and the patient. So we have a certificate for each of you, as well as a Singley Fire Company Challenge coin for you to keep at home. But we appreciate you and all that you do, and we thank you.
Thank you.
I want to get pictures with everybody. The whole person. Commissioner, yeah, yep.
Sure.
All right, yeah, we want to follow around here for the picture.
Shake hands.
Oh,
Get back here further.
Can we do it? Squish in like you love each other.
It's a group. There we go. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, sir.
All right.
One of my many jobs. Paparazzi. I'm the paparazzi. There's a guy in the lobby who wants waiting. He wants property.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. I was thinking about maybe doing, like, at least letting them know.
Let us resume. Congratulations for the policemen. And there's no dumb question, Chief, but they have the name and they have a number.
That's their ID number, and that was part of the Maryland reform laws, where they have to now display their name and number. And you can see it on mine as well. Mine's just smaller.
Huh.
Yes.
Is that for identification purposes? Because you got either or. If you don't get the or, then you got either. If you don't get either, you got or both of them supposed to be there.
Both have to be there
Okay.
by law.
Okay.
Yeah, I've not seen a presentation like that before, to the fire company. That's really special.
So the officers did, it was at the beginning of August, and it was outside of town, almost to Pennsylvania, up on Appleton Road. And they were responding, medics had responded to a medical call for a female. And I'm not sure if they had the forced entry or not, but then the husband had called also and was claiming that somebody was trying to break into his house, so he presented a shotgun at them, and they put out an all-points bulletin for any police to come, and everyone else was busy or didn't have somebody available, so our officers stepped up and they resolved it without issue, so we were really happy about that.
Thank you. Last order of business, at least at the part of Merrill, is that he would like for us to reappoint Paula Newton to the Historic District Commission once again to a term that expires in 22 and 3 years, which is August 31st, 2025. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any side? Aye. Ayes have it, motion is moved forward. Now, for us to give whatever comments we have, I'll start out by saying basically, the Fall Fest was real nice. I only see one representative here, and I thank you for coming from RG for our meeting, but not only that, to hear my comments on the Fall Fest. I think it was an outstanding job. Of all the years, it had to be the largest turnout. I could be wrong, but I don't know what type of ticket taker you take as far as numbers go, but it was well done. The schematics, the map, somebody did a tremendous job. I did mention that to a couple other people, but I want you to hear it again. It was done very well. They even had time for people to put the tables down, the pickups. You covered areas that were not covered before, even down behind the old library, as I still call it, which is the historic district. And people were still talking about the number of food trucks that were there. So all the people, they did a great job, whoever they were, and I know you were part of it. And my last comment specifically, HR Director, good to see you here. Have the bosses started going around evaluating their employees yet? I know you have a new plan for that to happen. Do you know the gist of it, where they are? Because we were absent from that for a number of years, and that really was not done, and people were working and had no data.
So all appraisals have been submitted as far as to the departments to be done at the beginning of the year. I've only had a small amount that's been returned. So the HR department had sent out to all the directors evaluations that are due. Unfortunately, we did not get all of them. They have been notified, all the directors.
And I believe you're doing a model now, so that means people have to punch in a time clock, or are they done?
Glad you brought that up, Commissioner. Looks like we're going to be going live with the new system next week, and so we will have a digital time clock that the employees can clock in, clock out. Next week, we're still processing with the current payroll system. For next week, after that, we'll be moving to a new system. So we're in the process of the final stages of implementation and training of the employees right now. Still at the very beginning stages, but beginning of the end of the end of the beginning.
So the time clock specifically is a tool that's going to weigh or measure accuracy with the time?
Yes.
Okay.
There's some flexibility in there too. There's certain positions that are pretty standard and fixed schedules, but of course when you're looking at EPD, there's certain positions, many positions that are not standard. So we're looking at many different flexibilities there. Also in the new system, it does have a appraisal system is there as well that I want to launch next year. There's many different features to the new HRIS payroll system that we're just going to take baby steps with, because it's a lot. It's going to be overwhelming if we kind of share that and push that right from the get-go. So we need the technology's there, but then we need to kind of translate that, transmit that knowledge to the employees, to the directors, and to the employees. It's going to take a little time.
Even introducing the time clock, I know is a baby step, but are the employees aware of the significance of now having to use a time clock when that has not been done before?
That's part of what we're doing right now. For example, Tracy Holter and I had a meeting at roll call yesterday morning. I've been talking with the directors ongoing throughout the year. Also having preliminary meetings tomorrow morning. I'm going to DPW to give a presentation of how the system's going to work. I went to Parks and Recreation today also. They explained to Cheney and Amanda Easter, who supports Mary, how the system is going to generally work. But there's going to be different training sessions to everyone, and it's going to be like a layered learning approach.
So with the time clock, you don't have to go there to collect the data, it'll come technologically to you?
Yes, basically every department will have a representative or two that will have access to every digital timesheet. The employees will clock in, clock it out. They can still look at their time card on their Paycor app anytime if they want to see what their hours are. At the end of the pay cycle, all of those every day, we take a look and make sure everyone's clocking in, clocking out properly. Basically, the information is transmitted directly to me, and I will process payroll at that point. And finance will be relieved of that burden for the October 14th pay date, and I'll be taking over that process moving forward. I'm the deployed person.
So as I come to work in the morning, what time can I check in? As I depart in the afternoon, what time can I check out?
So if, for example, if you have an employee that has an 8 o'clock start time, they can clock in 5 minutes before 8, up until 5 minutes after 8, there's like a grace period. And at the end of the shift, at 4:30, they can do the same. And then there's a half an hour lunch that automatically deducts from the employee's time. Although if an employee gets really busy throughout the day, they're unable to take a 30-minute meal break, we have a feature where they can just submit to their supervisor, I'm sorry, I didn't take my lunch, and we'll add a half an hour back in.
Okay.
That feature is, you said each employer, do they have this on their phone?
They'll have the ability on the phone. Yes.
So there's a spot in this app that you just, you touch to say, I had a lunch or I didn't have a lunch without interruption, I think. It's the same program.
Well, it doesn't, the lunch is not on the phone, they would actually have to email or communicate or submit a slip to their supervisor. There is a missed punch feature on the app where someone missed the punch, they can hit that punch and say, I forgot to clock in at 8, and that email will go directly to the supervisor who will.
They have to
initiate.
Okay, gotcha.
They have to initiate.
Gotcha.
So they're clocking in and out with their phones?
They'll be clocking in and out with their phones, also on the desktops for every location that has computers. We already set up a computer at DPW. I think we talked about that a couple meetings ago, that we want a computer for DPW for people who don't have a computer. Because we have other things that are planning for, we're doing a whole overhaul of the nationwide 401A and 457. So we want to make sure that people who don't have a computer have access to a computer. So that was Commissioner Jean's suggestion, and it's over there now.
I was going to ask you, is that up and running and working?
It's up, the computer's up and running and working.
Good, yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Wow.
So do they have to be physically in the building in order to be able to clock in?
No,
Clock
so
out?
the system does have a capability that, especially for the police department, for example, if they need to clock out off location, there is a geofence that's set up in the system where people can clock in here, but if they can also clock out away from here. But if they clock out away from the this address, or the DPW address, or Parks and Recs Community Center address, the system will say, oh, Andy Rodriguez is clocking in from West Palm Beach drinking mojito. He shouldn't be. He's not working. He's on vacation. It'll alert the supervisor where that person's clocking in and out.
Same goes for punching in? They can punch in from anywhere?
Yep. But we'll have triggers to let us know where they're punching in.
Wait a minute, going back again, they can punch in from anywhere?
Pretty much, but we'll have triggers for that when we know when they're clocking in. Yes.
It still doesn't hit home with me. They can clock in anywhere.
Yes, but the supervisor will get a flag if they're not clocking in where they're supposed to be clocking.
Oh, that's the difference. Okay, man, you got a little additive there, so I
So
understand.
you'll know that they're clocking in from home?
Yes, and if they're a police officer being called to work from home to go straight to a call, we will know that, and their command staff will know that and either approve or not approve
Seems like a lot of
that. It's a lot of moving
paperwork
parts.
and review.
Well, right now, everything's manual. Everything's manual.
Well,
time
that's
system.
true too.
Yeah.
That's true. So if they don't want to use their phone, there'll be a regular time clock
Digital time clock,
thing?
right on their desktop. It's only their their employee number.
Oh, when they log on?
Yeah, it's just an employee number and a 3 or 4 digit PIN, and it's basically 7 to 8 digits, and you clock in and clock out.
Oh, okay, so it's not like
Very
a wall
simple.
machine or anything.
Now, their regular profile account for their payroll account will have a username and password, and all the commissioners and the mayor will also get an invitation to register your account. And when you register your account, you can then download the mobile app, and at that time, every time there's a payroll, you'll be able to get a copy of your pay stub right on your app. And the employees will be able to see their vacation, sick time, and personal leave accruals right on their app as well.
Oh, that's good.
My last question, and you know, we've talked about that before, that, you know, police sometimes have to leave their job at home, so if I get a call, I hasten to wherever I'm going, accident or be whatever it is, you know, there's always that chance that that policeman can fail to clock in.
Yes.
So how much leeway time do they have to do that, or can that be done at another time? Because their situations are different.
Yeah, I mean, and we had candid conversations with some of the police officers yesterday. If they get an emergency call, they don't want to worry about, I need to clock in before I go to this call.
Right.
Absolutely. But if they forget, then they will have, they'll have a method to report it to either their sergeant or the lieutenant, or Tracy Holter or myself, that we can put that clock in. We're going to see also alerts. So if someone's scheduled to work, 8 to 4:30, and they clock in at 8, and they don't clock in, for example, clock out at 4:30, it will give us a flag that someone forgot to clock out, and then we can put that in there, because if there's not 2 punches at least, we're not getting paid for that. So there's alerts and triggers in the system to alert us.
I guess they'll get used to it. Everybody will get
So the overall system ought to be administered by you, or their bosses, or their chiefs, or their, okay, and then they submit it, okay.
And we're going to have there's going to be a lot of tweaks on the way, Commissioner, but we're excited. We're hoping at the beginning it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for everybody. In the next few months, though, I think that it's going to streamline the whole process of payroll, make life a lot easier for a lot of people. We did the same thing for my previous employer. We had over 1,000 employees. We went through implementation in 2016 for 10 different locations. And it wasn't easy, but we did it. And I'm confident for 140 employees that we can do the same.
Okay, so who does not have to clock in?
You don't.
I know me. In addition to the
Well,
four of us who are.
salaried employees generally, exempt employees generally don't have to clock in and clock out, okay? But we can have them do, but with an exempt employee, we're not eligible for any overtime. So the system will calculate the hours of work, automatically calculate the overtime that's due to the employee. Also, we have special overtime rules for both a sworn officer and a civilian. It's different. So that's all built into the system. Right now, all those overtime rules are done up here in people's minds. They actually have to remember to properly calculate these things. And so that saves all that headache.
Thank you, sir. You well tuned to what you're offering. You don't know, nobody else knows.
What's that?
If you don't know, no one else knows.
Yes. So, but yeah, feel free to ask me any questions, but I'm glad you mentioned it, Commissioner, because probably the next couple days, everyone who has an email that is working for the town of Elkton, including the commissioners and Mayor Hall, will receive an email that said, hey, we reached a milestone, we're moving forward. And then another email will come to give you instructions on how to register your account. And if you need any help, just give us a call.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting.
I do have one other question. Don't
Okay.
If with your evaluation system and everybody holds to the standards of the town of Elkton, Earl's riding down the road, he see one of the maintenance men over to the side smoking a cigarette. They're not supposed to do that. What is he to do?
He should, if it's a DPW employee.
Or it doesn't even have to be that. I'm just saying the town of Elkton. I use that as an
Or
example.
any employee, we would ask that if any of the commissioners see that, to report it directly to that employee's director, to alert them, and you can also copy me so we can look into the issue.
Can we do that by phone?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's it.
It's nice to have an email documentation.
Okay, I know. Take the job. Your turn. It's your turn. It's all.
For questions? I'm done.
Is that okay? Thank you.
I'm familiar with the program.
All right, so, thank you.
You spill. Your time.
I'll go.
Commissioners report? Is that what he's asking for?
Yeah, in other words, yeah.
There were a couple things on my agenda here that I didn't bring up last time. I've had 2 people come up to me and ask me about the trash at Marina Park. They're trying to use the kayak ramp, and they're saying that it is just covered in trash. I promised them that I would bring it up in my commissioner's report. One thing I've noticed down on Main Street, because I'm right there, Dr. Mulvey's office next to me, I see a lot of elderly men and women, I mean really old, trying to make it up that curb. And they have a really hard time. You know, a few times I go out there and I'll help them if I can, if I see it. I would like to see us look into installing a ramp, like an apron, in the curb, right in front of Dr. Mulvey's shop, right in front of his practice.
Yeah, look at Michelle, she's taking notes.
Where the parking, you mean,
Yeah, you
next,
got it.
right next to where you park?
Yeah. There's one up in front of Spork, but in order for them to utilize it, they would have to literally walk out into the middle of the intersection to get to that apron. So I'd like to see something directly in front of Dr. Mulvey's office so that these people with walkers and wheelchairs can get up that curb. They have a hard time.
Dan Anthony's online right now.
The only issue with that, Commissioner, is you're blocking a parking space. The reason why we put the ramp is sitting in front of Spork is because you can cross Main Street going across that way, so north south. If you put it right in front of Dr. Mulvey's, what you have is literally if you park, then it's useless to the other people. That's the only thing. It's an access situation that way. That's why we keep them at the edges so people can get to them.
Dan, might we put one in between the parking spots?
It's going to be, it's hard to access. I mean, we'll look into it and see what's what. That's the only issue. It's just, I know.
Come down, I'll show you what I mean.
At crossings, we put them at prescribed crossing routes, that's how we do it. I mean, we can look in between, but, you know.
Are you required to have a standard curve? Or can the whole that curve be, you know, a gradual incline like on a?
Yeah, did you get the question from Commissioner Burrow?
I did not.
Oh, I don't talk loud. Are we required to have a standard curb, like a step-up curb, where you park, or can it be like redone to just be like a gradual incline all along that area? An apron.
I'd have to research it, because typically all your curbs and gutters are standard for the water to drain down the other way, so I can research it.
Okay. I'm just wondering, you know.
I'm telling you, they need something.
I don't think you can do anything because of this, the funding that was used, to make the bump outs and everything was done by the state. I don't think we can go back and
Readjust?
Yeah, because of the funding that we had to do.
Dan, if you would, just come down and take a look at it with me, please.
But, you know what I'm saying, right?
I do. But that's a long walk up to that apron in front of Spork, and these people aren't capable of it, and you have to go out into the intersection to do it. I'd like to see if we can't make it easier for these elderly people to get up that curb. The last thing on my agenda is that I received an email from a radar sign company, and this is something I've mentioned for 2 or 3 years now. North Street is notorious for people doing 45, 50 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and which wouldn't bother me as much, except that they're doing it right past the middle school. I know when I pull out of my neighborhood and I look to my left toward the middle school, I should be able to pull out and reach 25 miles an hour before anybody is anywhere near me, if I don't see anybody coming. But sure enough, when I pull out and look in my mirror, there's somebody right on my butt, because they're coming around that corner very fast. I think we need something there to try to slow these people down. It is a school zone after all.
I agree. I brought that up 4 years ago, I think.
So I have the information from the company here that we talked to down at the MML convention in Ocean City in June. Maybe we can talk to them or seek out another company, but I sure would like to get that resolved. And that's it as far as my report today.
I just have one comment to Margie. All I've heard was good comments about the Fall Fest. I snuck down on Friday. So many people saw me. Then I had other things. There were birthdays all in September. My mom turned 89. My sister all in those 2 days, Friday and Saturday. I snuck down on Saturday, just to be visible, but I heard enough with good comments about the Fall Fest, and you and your staff done a great job with this Fall Fest this year, so I want to thank you on behalf.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry, I left that out of my report.
No, you can't go back now. Too late. I wanted to do something.
And Margie was the main part of that. Her and a couple other key people,
So
but that
thank
woman
you.
right there worked hard for that.
I'm good.
Before I ask the audience if they have any comments, I omitted one thing. The Elkton Rotary was left out of the commissioning of funds from my AARP money, and Rob had mentioned that, you know, we need to bring that up to a vote. I am in agreement. I know he is. Gene, I saw your thumb sign up.
Yeah.
Both of you, all those in favor of this with a motion?
Aye.
Motion carried, Michelle, so you can go forward with that. Now, the audience, anyone in the audience on the screen, if you have anything you would like to bring to us, certainly we will listen. First starting with Margie.
All right, I'm going to try and get through this without getting emotional because volunteerism is really close to my heart. The assistance the Elkton Alliance has received to make Elkton's Fall Fest happen has been sustained solely by volunteers. I myself, during the month of September thus far, have logged over 130 hours. Our board VP, Ms. Danielle Carroll, and Mr. Lee Lewis logged over 55 hours, not including the full 15-hour days of the Fall Fest kickoff party and the day of Fall Fest itself. The Elkton Alliance is extremely grateful for the over 50 volunteers we had to assist the event kickoff party, set up on Saturday, help man's children's activities and info booth, and help us tear everything down on Saturday night. In all, for the month of September, thus far, the Elkton Alliance has logged over 425 volunteer hours, the worth of which, according to the Independent Sector Resources in 2022, equals $12,728.75. According to our recent social media feedback, the 25th celebration of Elkton Fall Fest 2022 was considered the best Fall Fest to date. Thank you.
I agree with that.
That was nice, you recognized everybody, thank you.
Man, would you like to say anything? I don't know who you are, but certainly we're glad that you're here. Okay, thank you. Anyone on the screen looking in, do you have anything to say?
We have a Ms. Kirsten Batista. She's raised her hand, and I'm asking her to unmute her computer so that she can make a comment.
Where is she?
Upper left.
Okay.
Hello, how are you guys?
Fine.
So I'm not sure if this is, I'm not sure which meeting this would be appropriate to discuss that, but I would like to discuss like school issues. Would that be appropriate, or, I'm sorry.
That would be for the board of.
Why don't you offer what you have, and then we can give you a designation.
Okay, I'm pretty much just a concerned mother about the state of the school at this point. Just the bus issue and the lack of like, teachers and people being able to look over the children. Like my child's being squished on a bus between high schoolers. She got off the bus one day and walked to her aunt's house, and I never received any type of correspondence that happened from any school. I tried to contact the Board of Education. I tried to contact the school and not receiving any feedback. I'm just trying to see whether there's a plan in place to like alleviate this situation.
At your outset, and I hate to cut you off, certainly you do have a concern, but you need to see Mr. Chip Helm. He is with the Board of Education, and he is in transportation. Again, that's Chip Helm. So if you call the Board of Education at their number 5400, and someone, the secretary at the desk, can refer you to the proper source.
And you said Chip?
Chip Helm, C-H-I-P, Helm is H-E-L-M, and the board's number is 410-996-5400, and you will respond to a secretary, and she can further direct you.
Okay, thank you guys so much, because I had nowhere to
Have a good
where to
evening.
go.
Thanks.
All said and done, the meeting is over at 12:50.